The bigotry of feminist expectations. That's what we're seeing in the gaming industry today because many gamers are revolting. They're revolting to any game that has these feminist-centric themes, and Silent Hill F is the most recent casualty in this war. When it comes to any game that is sending a message, political or otherwise, that is there to change the mind of the gamers, and the gamers are flatly saying no, and that's what we're seeing happening here with Silent Hill F, my most anticipated game but also my most disappointing game of the year, where I was excited about the game. I didn't care about the politics because I always saw Silent Hill as having more of a feminist messaging, but this is the case in point where you make the game in the wrong time, in the wrong era, for the wrong audience that is just outright tired of hearing this messaging. And I think that's the thing that we're seeing right now with Silent Hill F, where people are just saying, I don't care about your messaging. I already heard it 10 times before Tuesday this afternoon because every single entertainment property is giving me this message. And I think that's the problem with Silent Hill F. It's just repeating the same messaging we've been getting for the past decade or so. All men are evil, fathers are terrible and dumb, and brothers are annoying, and of course, marriage is a prison and children are a burden. And that's what we kind of get from Silent Hill F, this messaging that we have been inundated for these past decades or so. And I think even more so with a country like Japan, where like, okay, we already know this messaging and you're just doing it again and again, and it's just not being done in a tactful way. And more than anything, it feels like it's being done for attention from a needy Japanese developer that wants to be recognized by Western devs. And I think that's the situation with Silent Hill F, where I'm like, I would have enjoyed this maybe 10, 15 years ago, even with some of the bad gameplay elements, because the story wouldn't be as all-encompassing as it is nowadays. But we hear so much of the same tales from movies and video games that gamers are just tired of it. And I think that is the situation playing out for Silent Hill F right now, because it feels like we've been getting this game incessantly these past few years, even from Silent Hill genre itself, 1 through 4. Now, before we start trashing Silent Hill F, we have to understand why Silent Hill was a masterpiece. Starting in 1999, the series revolutionized survival horror. It wasn't just jump scares, it was deep personal stories about trauma and the subconscious. And this included some tales that were leaning more towards the feminist angle. And I think that's the thing people found acceptable about Silent Hill. The difference between Silent Hill and the many new incarnations of this imposing of politics is that it was done more subtly, more ingrained with the story, and not as overtly so. It was done as almost as a surprise and an engaging story or tale. And I think that's the thing a lot of people got from the original versions of Silent Hill. In Silent Hill 2, we have James Sutherland grappling with the guilt over his wife's death, and we know the subsequent surprises around it. Silent Hill 3 was dealing with cult horrors and adolescence. The games were subtle. They used symbolism, like repression in Silent Hill 2 and unwanted pregnancy in Silent Hill 3, without preaching and overloading the story with those themes. I think that's the thing people are missing nowadays with the games. They're too upfront with their messaging, and people wouldn't like that if this happened in older Silent Hill games where we saw the message so upfront and clear. It would be funny for a second, but it wouldn't be as engaging for the fan base. We had an upfront version of Silent Hill 2 where we're like, okay, this is ridiculous how they're doing it. I think that's the thing people are getting from these games that are coming out. They're subtle, they're deep, they're more in depth, they have psychological depth to them. They're symbolic. The monsters have more symbolism to them than they usually do in other games. And I think that's the thing that we really don't see at a high quality with Silent Hill F. It feels like a deteriorated version of those games that we did play. And I would say, granted, we had some feminist themes and messaging in those older Silent Hill games, but it just felt more natural, more engaging, and more innovative. Right now, this seems like it's derivative of everything that we've seen these past 15 years in media and entertainment. It feels like the story is telling the same story, that marriage is evil, children are burdened, fathers are terrible, brothers are vindictive, and of course feminist freedom is the primary goal in all women's life. And I think that is just where the story just becomes monotonous for people, even in 1960s Japan, where there's abuse, there's social pressures, and these are the things and elements that would be apparent during that time. And I think this is a game that just suffers coming out during a time where gamers are just saying, I don't care about your message. I don't care if it's realistic. I don't care if you're trying to make it into something that has a quality facsimile of reality of the time. I don't care about any messaging you've been pushing. because every single game subsequent to this game coming out has been infused with this forced messaging pattern. So I absolutely reject anything that you're coming out with. And I think that's the ultimate thing that we're seeing with Silent Hill F, where people are just rejecting it because it follows too much other properties that are doing similar things. When I say too much properties, I mean almost every AAA title is having the same messaging. And I think that is the thing that gamers are just annoyed with and are just pulling away from. They're like, I don't care. Even though you're a step up at least a little bit in the story-wise, it just doesn't matter anymore. I'm going to flat out reject anything that you're putting in front of me. And I think that's where Silent Hill is suffering with a bit of bad timing. It came out during a time where no one wants to hear their story anymore because we've seen it oversaturated, done a trillion times worse, and we saw it done so bad multiple times that we won't even give you credit if you attempt to do it in a modicum of semblance of competency. And I think that is the failure of the current gaming market, where people are just done giving a chance even to some low-level quality games. And I think Silent Hill F has a standing to some sort of extent. I don't think it's completely terrible or bad, but I think it just came out during a time where even I'm playing it, I'm like, man, I feel like I'm playing Ghost of Yote. I feel like I'm playing Assassin's Creed Shadows. I feel like I'm playing every single game that came out this past year alone. Dragon Age Veilguard. Every game, I feel like this game encapsulates the same messaging as those games, even though they're different genres. I feel like we're getting the same concepts over and over again. And that's why this game is suffering, even though it may not be as terrible as some of those games listed before. And that is the unfortunate state of gaming right now, where the evidence is where it is. And if you want to know the details about the game itself, it pretty much has that same messaging I told you out before. And it's done in such a direct way where it's just annoying to even play the game, even though the game, I think, is a standard game. It's not absolutely terrible. It's not completely trash, but I think the themes have been overdone where gamers are just throwing the baby out with the bathwater. And that's when you have scenes like this that are criticizing women in any sort of way, where we have the male positioning realistically being done in a way where it would have been done in the past, with themes of arranged marriage and things like that, and themes of, hey, breaking away, being free from these restrictive choices, being an independent, strong, independent woman, don't need no man. We know those themes, and it's just tiring to play a game with those themes because we've been playing games like this for 15 years now, and the majority of them have been trash. So even if you put out a game that has some sort of quality, people are just going to attach that trash labeling on your game. And I think that's the thing that is the danger of putting out content without quality, just focused on their themes. And I think that's the essential game plan with consultancy firms and game developers in the West for these past few years. Putting out content, no matter of their substandard quality, they just want the messaging there. And that messaging became synonymous with trash content. And that's why you have people looking at Silent Hill and saying, oh, you have the trash theme. You must be a trash game. And the game is not that great as well, so you are a trash game. Even though you're just a substandard or okay game, we're going to deem you a trash game. And I think that's the burden that it has right now, where it's going to be in line with all these other titles because you share the same themes, and gamers are tired of those themes. But that is just my 2 cents on the situation. I think Silent Hill suffers from bad timing. If it came out 10, 15 years ago, it probably would look somewhat the same. And people would say, oh, it's impressive, it's okay, I like it, and no one would really trash it. There wouldn't be 10 videos calling it complete garbage when it is just an okay game that has boring, tired themes that gamers are simply going to reject now. And I think that is the fault of the people that are helming the gaming industry for pushing and inundating the gamers with this theme incessantly, when in the past, before we had these outsiders invade the gaming industry, we had plenty of strong women done in the best way possible. And I think that is the thing people are missing nowadays. Those classic, competent, confident, and empowering women that we used to get when mostly male developers made video games. And it seems like now that we have an element of a lot of these feminist philosophies in gaming, we get a version of these characters that are annoying, uninteresting, and bossy, and unappealing to the gamer base. And I think unfortunately for Silent Hill F, it doesn't have the annoying and bossy elements, but it has the same themes that we see in those new modern day properties. And people are just sick of it. And I think that's the ultimate thing that we're seeing now with the gaming audience. They want to see something different, especially from Silent Hill F. We don't want to see anything too direct. We want to see more symbolism, and they do have symbolism, but the symbolism is just seen through so easily. In the past Silent Hill games, it took a while. It took discussions to get that symbolism. But in this day and age of everyone doing the same thing, symbolism is completely lost. And I think that's the situation we have in the gaming world. That is just my 2 cents on the situation. Maybe you disagree with me. Tell me what you think. Like, comment, share, subscribe. This is Wagner Knows Why. Catch you next time.